My name is Ibrahim Shubaith from Saudi Arabia. I just want to have a comment on this issue. As we know that we are talking about tough and sometimes boring issues when we are talking about science. So we have to introduce it in the way that the audience love and the way the audience encouraged to watch. So the scientific issues always put, whether in TV, media, various medias, always put in a very tough way that it's not attractive for the audience to watch. Okay, so we have to concentrate on this issue, and we have to find sponsors for that. That's my point.
Thank you very much. Any other obstacles encountered? Gentleman here, and then here, and then there.
I'm Kilimwiko from Tanzania. I've got 3 points to observe. One which is very clear is that there is a disconnect between policymakers, policy administrators, scientists, and policy communicators. That's the media on one side, and the policy consumers, that's the population. In terms of journalism, what we face is that I'm one of the editors. The problem is that I'm supposed to make money. So when a reporter brings me a story, the first thing I look is the news worthiness. Can it sell? Can it bring me money? And because of this, there is a tendency, especially in our country, there is a tendency of a reliance on the traditional concept of news values, which in most cases portrays, advocates negativism, failure of systems, failure of societies, drama, instead of something which is positive. New discoveries, issues about nutrition, artificial insemination, transport, that kind of thing. The other thing has
actually, I think we'll stay to 1 point, and then we'll come back to you because it's very interesting. So I will move over, gentleman here, and then there.
My name is Fidel Jundi from Syria. One big problem we have in this issue is most of producers think that there is no Arabic audience for these programs of science, but it's not true. It was proven that whenever there was good material produced in science journalism, there is a good audience for it, and very good, much more than what the producer thinks. Subject to that, as my colleague said before, this material to be produced in a very well presented method to people, to be attractive, because when people switch on TV, they don't want to learn, they want to enjoy. So we have to do materials to them to enjoy them. One example is Aljazeera Children Channel. It really produced some very interesting and program which the kids enjoy it. And there are a few examples like that. So there's many things. There is a lot of audience in the Arabic world who are really will watch and will read science journalism if it was presented to them in a well-presented method.
Thank you for that hopeful observation. We have a gentleman here.
My name is Michael Malakata. I'm coming from Zambia. But I feel like Zambia, like any other country in Africa, the people's mindset are set on politics. So no matter what you do as a science journalist, it's really difficult to get down to the policymakers in order to convince them that if we do this and that, then our country will develop just like another country. But so oftentimes we hear them speak about the West developing in terms of science and technology. But the question maybe is, how much are you yourself investing in science and technology? If I'm to write a science story, how many people are going to read it? How many policymakers are going to read it? But if I'm going to write about politics, so I'm going to write about sports, how many people are going to read it? The paper will say, like, I don't know. So I think the problem that we have is the people of Africa, I may not speak on behalf of the people of the Middle East because I'm not so sure about the developments here, but like the people of Africa, their mind is set on politics, full stop.
A question for Ahmed El-Sheikh. Al Jazeera, famous for its political coverage. We've heard from Zainab, difficulty generally in media outlets in this region placing science stories. What emphasis do you give science on the channel?
Well, let me first of all admit the fact that we are lagging behind in this field. comparing ourselves to the BBC or other news organizations which are in a similar stature like us, I think we are lagging behind. We are not giving enough space to science journalism in our bulletins and our programs. And this is due to, if you want me to go into trying to justify why that is taking place. Why? Because, as the gentleman said there, we are in the middle of a very volatile region. It's a region, the Middle East is always exploding with breaking news every single hour. You interrupt your programs and you go into breaking news, which consumes your time most of the time. The other factor is that we cannot, it's very, very difficult for you to find qualified science journalists. We are a program, a medical program or something, health program, let me characterize it, and we are in touch with some doctors at Hamad Medical Corporation. We couldn't actually find people who were ready to cooperate with us. But the program went on for some time, and then we had to, I don't know why it was stopped anyway. But we tried it. Anyway, when there is, let me just remind you, when there is anything that's really taking place worldwide, which is of interest to us, we give it enough space, good space in our bulletins. When the genome the story of the genome 5 years ago took place, it was highlighted there at the very top of the run order. It was the first headline in our bulletins. When there is the story of the cloning story, when it was there, we gave it good space in our bulletins. But the difficulty is to find qualified journalists who can render the science material into something that's really enjoyable and readable, who can take the jargon, the scientific jargon out of the story and make it understandable for the average audience, for the layman in the street. And people, and I must agree with the gentleman there who said that there is an audience for science stories, because Discovery Channel, as a matter of fact, is very popular in our countries. It is very popular. The BBC programs such as Horizon, and unfortunately they have to stop it as of late, even in Britain, and this is for fiscal reasons, I think. Even in Britain, it's finding these restraints are affecting the output of science journalism. It has an audience. We purchase programs from the PPC about different scientific topics, and we find from our studies that people are really interested in these things. So if you can find the money that is necessary and the people who can deliver this material, who can render it enjoyable to the public, I think we can succeed. Okay. But some people say that the editor, it is true, sometimes I admit that. I take decisions and said, no, I'm going to kill that story. I'm not going to go with that. I don't have time for that story because there is an explosion in Lebanon and people are being killed, or in Kenya. Kenya is is high on the run order of our bulletins these days. I admit that. It's just, you cannot actually ignore the fact that people are being killed in the third world countries. And I think it would be unfair for us to demand that our societies produce good scientific material for journalism, because we are not, I'm sorry to say that, as advanced in this field as other societies in the West.
But you are global citizens.
We are global citizens, and we've got to do whatever is necessary to take up, to follow suit.
To rise to the challenge.
Yeah, we have to rise up to the challenge. And at Al Jazeera, I think we can allocate the time necessary and the money. By the way, we don't have the physical restraints that he talked, the fiscal restraints that he talked about. We are a publicly funded organization, so if we sometimes send our correspondents to Britain and then to the States and other countries to produce scientific stories, and we did it many times, but we've got to admit that we are not giving science